Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Gameday Gameplay, the sports segment of Console Space. I'm your host, Sean Colangelo, joined as always by the man I envy the most in the wintertime, Todd from Florida. What's up, man?
Not much, Sean. How you doing?
Pretty good. Just a quiet, cold Sunday night in the Berg. How is Florida?
It wasn't cold here today. Well, actually, for Florida it was. Which obviously probably would be warm to you guys, but it was a little bit chilly for us. Quiet day too. Just went caught a movie, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I didn't do much of anything this weekend. I was supposed to go down to film an episode of the Console Space podcast, and Rob and JP were not able to make it, so kind of just sat around and didn't do a whole lot of anything today. But that's not always such a bad thing. Um,
no, every once in a while it's a good day to have.
yeah, for sure. So, not a whole lot of news on the NFL front, and then obviously we're still extremely early in the MLB, so we're not really gonna
Mm-hmm.
go go much into that. And we're
Yeah.
still waiting on the NBA playoff picture to completely form. So,
Mm-hmm.
with all that being said, we're pretty much just going to talk NHL because we pretty much know what the playoff matchups are going to be. And so we're just going to discuss that and we're going to make our picks and predictions as to how that will play out. So I guess I'll let you take the reins from there.
All right. Before we actually get into the playoffs, let's just cover a little bit of news in the NHL.
Sure.
Really, the only big piece of news: the Rangers fired their coach.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that
Elaine
earlier.
Vigneault. Yeah,
Yeah.
Elaine Vigneault is out. Not necessarily a surprise, more of a surprise that they did it this year than any other year. Just because they were admittedly a rebuilding team this year, and it's not really the coach's fault that that happened. But I've been seeing Rangers fans on pretty much every all their blogs, all their Facebook pages, all their Twitter feeds, everything like that, calling for him to be fired for probably ever since what was the year they beat us in the second round after we had a 3-1 lead? 2013, right?
No, that was I think that was 2014, and then I think
Okay.
2015 was the year that they beat the Penguins in the first round, right? I think.
Yeah, pretty much ever since 2015 though, because they didn't do much after that run.
Right.
Because after they made their run, whenever they made a cup final in that time frame, I remember that, and they got beat by. Who did they get beat by in the cup? Is it the Kings? Were they the ones that played the Kings when the Kings won in 2015?
Um.
I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
It was Rangers Kings.
Yes.
Ever since that happened, they've been on kind of a downhill slope in terms of the playoffs, and the fans have turned on AV pretty hard. A lot of things, they were saying that he was given too much time to guys like Girardi and Stahl when, younger defensemen should have been eating those hours or those minutes, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about that earlier. I think the point that you had made was you were just kind of confused as to why they would seemingly blame the coach when like the team was like made the call to rebuild. Like that's not the coach's fault that
yeah.
they pretty much like like maybe not quite like in the middle of the season, but like mid end season, we're like, yeah, we're gonna have a fire sale and pretty much just start over. Like that's not his fault. You know what I mean? So
That's kind of, and it really, it didn't even, I mean, I don't think going into the season that they were a rebuilding team, but they made a move in the offseason that to me signaled that they were at least trying to retool, and that was when they traded Stepan and Ronta to to Arizona for basically a prospect and the first pick.
oh yeah, okay, right, right.
Yeah. Because that they didn't really get any roster players out of that. I mean, I think they might have thought that the defenseman they got out of that, his name's escaping me right now. If you give me a little bit, I'll probably remember it. But I think they thought he was going to end up turning out to be something, and he really didn't. And then they got They got a good pick out. I think they got the seventh overall pick and got a good prospect out of that, but he's not playing yet either. Um, but that to me signaled that they were maybe in the mind frame of our roster might not be good enough to make a run this year, so why don't we try to retool a little bit and see if we can get some futures, kind of thing. So, and then obviously, once they started falling downhill this season, they traded away McDonough, they traded away Nash, they traded away JT Miller, um, traded away Grabner. A lot of moves off that roster. That's
Mm-hmm.
why it's hard for me to make a hard to me to realize why they would fire AB this year. It might not be so much that they're blaming him as more as getting a new coach is part of the rebuild they're doing. But anytime a coach is fired, it almost seems like they're blaming him for having a bad year, and you really can't blame AB for this one.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree.
But, and then the other thing I want to talk about before we got into the playoffs, obviously there's two trophies we're gonna know right off the bat who won. Connor McDavid is back-to-back Ross winner. He has finished the season with 108 points. Now, keep in mind there is still one game going. That's Panthers versus Bruins. It's almost to the end of the second right now, but there's no player on either of those teams that's anywhere close to any of these awards, so we don't have to worry about that
Yeah.
being in effect. McDavid's going to take it with 108. We actually had 300-point scorers this year, which is kind of unusual. It's been a while since we've had multiple 100-point scorers in a year, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, wasn't there? I think it was only a couple years ago. Didn't Kane win it with like 88 points?
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
I know McDavid had over 100 last year. I know Kane had over 100 the year before that. But I think they were the only players in the 2 years that had over 100. It
Right.
does show that
Right.
offense might be coming back a little bit from defense.
Yeah. I was talking about that last night. Actually, I do. It does. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we watch the Penguins. But it does seem like scoring it was up this year.
Well,
Um,
if it's if it tells you anything, there were 20 players this year that had 82 plus points, which obviously means per game. Now, there's some guys that might have had points per game that didn't play a full 82-point season, but 82 plus is kind of the drop off of the absolute elite level of scoring. And there were, like I said, 20 of them in the league this year. So
yeah, that's nuts.
that's pretty high. But the 300-point scorers, besides obviously McDavid, we said Claude Giroux actually finished with 102. I had no idea he was that high in the scoring. And then Kucherov finished with 100, which we kind of saw that coming pretty much all year. The beginning of the year he had. Um, Outside of that, I mean, McKinnon had 97. He missed like 12 games, so he probably would have had 100 if he played the full season. And Malkin came just short with 98. I think he missed a few games here and there, didn't he? Not a lot,
He,
like 5 or 6.
yeah, something like that.
So you got to figure if he played an 82 game season, he probably would have hit 100 as well.
Yeah, probably.
So, but and then the Rocket, we also know that one. It's going to go back to its rightful owner, Ovechkin. Has picked up another Rocket for his trophy case. He finished with 49 goals this year, just one shy of 50. He actually hit 2 goals in the 82nd game, from 47 to 49. I was like, oh, here we go. He's going to hit a hat trick to his 50th goal. But he didn't get it. But
Oh, I'm surprised he played in that game. Well, I figured he would have rested.
yeah, true. I mean, Washington didn't have anything to play for, but sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird. Well, speaking of, we will go into that, but we were talking a little bit how we thought it was a little strange how Columbus and New Jersey rested players despite risking falling all the way to the second wild card spot. Um,
Yeah,
we
I think
couldn't.
Jersey ended up falling all the way to the second wild card spot because of maybe not necessarily falling because they were there to begin with, but if they'd won that game, they could have obviously and ranked
Yeah.
higher.
Um, yeah, it was a weird situation. I mean, from Columbus's standpoint, I was actually reading like I was reading one of their blogs, and like a lot of their fans were actually kind of upset about it because they actually thought that it kind of radiated the perception that they were intentionally trying to avoid the Penguins. I don't know if that's true. Um, it's hard to say. I mean, it's like on one hand, I wouldn't necessarily blame them because of their struggles against the Penguins, but at the same time, by like resting players, I mean, like like look at the Devils. I mean, like if they would have won, Columbus would have fallen all the way like into the Atlantic bracket, and then you're playing
Yeah,
Tampa
you'd
or
be playing
Boston
against
first,
Tampa.
which would is about the only thing worse than having to play the Penguins.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I would put
um,
Tampa over the Pens.
it was, yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I mean, as Penguins fans, we're probably a little inclined to think, oh, like they just don't want to play the Penguins. Um, and I don't think that was completely true, but it kind of makes you wonder because the alternative is probably worse. So I don't know. It was just weird. I mean, like I
Yeah,
said,
I don't have an answer for it. We'd have to talk to their coach because I have no idea what the mindset was there of why, when you still have something to play for, would you rest guys?
yeah, I mean, obviously, if the playoff matchups already would have been locked in, that would be a completely different story. But it's like they were each passed by the Flyers like earlier in the day, and they both just kind of took a knee, and it was just I don't know, it was very weird. But
Yeah, it was a strange one.
but on that note, uh, let's let's go ahead and break down what we think is going to unfold.
All right, well, like I said, there is one game still going that does have playoff implications. Bruins and Panthers, but the Panthers are up 3-1 pretty much at the end of the second here, and it's looking like the Bruins probably aren't going to take that one. So we'll make the picks in the assumption that they're going to lose that game and stay in second in the Atlantic. Um, if they make a comeback, then things might change a little bit because they'll end up taking the first spot and the matchups will change. But we'll just go ahead and hold the assumption that the Panthers are going to hold on to this game and win that one.
Okay.
Um, so let's break down. We'll start with the East. We got the number one seed in the East is the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they will be taking on the New Jersey Devils. Tampa Bay has 113 points this year, a record of 54, 23, and 5. Jersey has 97, 44, 29, and 9. What do you see happening in this matchup here, Sean?
Well, this is an interesting one because believe it or not, uh, Tampa got swept in this season's series against uh, New Jersey. Now, again, when it comes to the playoffs, you can kind of throw all that stuff out the window. That doesn't really matter anymore. But more so for me, it's just the fact that Tampa's not been playing super great the last probably like 2 months of this season. I mean, they're not a bad team, obviously, but I don't think they're anywhere near like on the tear that they were like like at the beginning of the season. I mean, like in fact, I think you know like it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that they were surpassed in the standings for the first time, like by the Bruins, right? Um, which was like the first time I think since like October or something like that. Um, so I'm not saying I think Tampa's going to lose the series because I don't think they are, but I think it'll be a little longer um, than we might think.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would say Tampa in 6 games.
Funny enough, that was actually going to be my exact pick was Tampa in 6, and for the exact same reasoning. More so that I think New Jersey is going to be a bit tougher of a team to put away than people think they are.
Yeah,
Because they are playing some pretty damn good hockey here in the last month of the season. So I still think Tampa Bay is too deep of a team and too good of a team to get beat by Jersey. But it's definitely not going to be a sweep, and I don't think they're going to take it in five either. I think Jersey is going to pull two games out of this, and going to make it at least a little bit interesting. But I'm going to take Tampa in six.
yeah, and I mean, realistically, like like even if that matchup ends up being with the Bruins, I would say the same thing. Like I'd say Boston at 6. So, um,
Yeah, yeah. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next game down that bracket. That will be Boston and Toronto, assuming Boston holds on to that second spot.
so
What are you thinking about this one?
yeah, so whether this is the Leafs or Bruins or ends up being Tampa and the Leafs, I think either way, I think that one will be a little closer to a coin flip. I think those could be very interesting series. Like you said, for the sake of what we think the standings will be, I believe didn't the Leafs actually? I think the Leafs actually beat them twice this year without Austin Matthews. That's what I read earlier today. Now again, regular season, I don't know how much stock you want to put in that. I mean, you know, look at the '09 Penguins. They got swept by the Capitals in regular season. We saw how that turned out. So it doesn't really matter. But that was kind of interesting because the Leafs didn't have Austin Matthews in like in one anyway. So that actually might hold some implications. Um, but I don't know, man. I mean, freaking Boston. They've probably been the best team in the league all year.
For
Um,
sure. I think so too.
so I think it's hard to bet against them, but I think that's going to be a tough series. I would go with Bruins at 7.
All right. This is this is getting this is getting strange, but yeah, I'm right there with you. Toronto's gonna be a tough team to put away this year. Um, I don't think they have the blue line to beat the Bruins. Is the problem? Frederick Anderson's giving them awesome goaltending, and they have a hell of an offense. But the Bruins' blue line is going to give them fits compared to their blue line giving Boston's offense or Toronto's. Their blue line giving Toronto's blue line giving Boston's offense fits. So I have Boston taking this one, but I do have it going to 7 as well.
Yeah, yeah, that just feels right.
Uh-huh. But let's go ahead and jump down into the Metro bracket. You got the number one seed in the Metro, Washington, taking on the second wildcard team in Columbus.
Okay, man, this one I think also is a bit of a coin flip. Um, but the the weird thing about the Capitals is against all odds they've been really good this season. I mean, I don't think anybody would have ever guessed they would win the Metro. I mean, part of that is just because how much of a logjam the Metro is. But I mean, they lost Shattenkirk, they lost Alsner, Schmidt, Johansson, uh, Williams. I mean, they lost so many good players. I mean, I don't think anybody expected. I mean, I figured they would get into the playoffs, but as like a 3 or seater, like a wild card. Um, and ironically, I think it actually might be good for them that they aren't like because last season they were almost considered as like cup favorites. And we all know what happens when the Caps have pressure on them. They just fold.
Yeah.
Um, Columbus, I don't know, man. They're like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like they're almost like the Flyers in the sense that 1 minute they're hot and they seem unstoppable. Then the next they lose like 10 games in a row. It's hard to put your finger on what they're going to do next. I think they're going to give them a pretty good run for their money. But I really do think the Capitals are going to pull it out. Um, I would go Caps in 7.
Gotcha. We're still right on the money, dude. I got Washington in 7 in this one as well. I think some people might think the 7 games is a little long here, but Columbus has been one of the hottest teams at the end of the season here,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to carry into the playoffs a little bit, and they're going to give Washington fits. I think this is going to be a kind of a brutal series, one of those heavy checking, you know, a lot of big hits, a lot of fights, comparatively. Some dirty plays here and there. It's going to happen, and I think they're going to give Washington a run for their money. But I think Washington overall is probably still the better team, despite what they've lost. Um, and I think they're going to end up taking it past Columbus. This is one of the picks I'm least certain about, though. I would honestly not be surprised to see Columbus get through this series.
Yeah, like I said, I really think that could go either way. I just think push comes to shove. I think Washington has a little more star power. I mean,
Yeah,
Columbus,
a little more star power and a little more playoff experience.
yeah, I mean, obviously Columbus went out and got Panarin,
Yeah,
which is big, but Washington still has, you got Ovi.
Backstrom,
Yeah,
Kuznetsov.
you could even throw Oshie in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just think they just have a little more firepower, and
Now,
yeah.
one of the more interesting wild cards I think to this series is going to be goaltending. Um, because on one hand you've got Columbus with Bobrovsky's playoff struggles are well documented. I think he's what 2-11 in the playoffs,
Ooh,
something like that.
good.
Three
Yeah,
and 11 maybe,
good
or three
lord.
out of 11. Yeah, and he's sub 800 or sub 900 save percentage in the playoffs as well in his career. So how is he going to perform? What's he going to do? And then in Washington, I mean, you've got the whole Grubauer versus Holby debate. I mean, do you go with Grubauer, who's been extremely good over the end of the season here, but has no playoff experience, or do you go back to Holby, who's done it for you before? I mean, it's going to be
Well,
an interesting one to watch. I mean, they're going to run Grubauer. It'll be Grubauer's spot till he loses it, but I don't think it's going to take more than really one bad game from Grubauer for him to get the yank and Holby to end up back in.
yeah. I mean, Hopi has done it, but has done what for you before? I mean, he hasn't done that much for you before. Um, if I had to guess, obviously, I'm sure at first they'll stick with Gerber, and then
Oh yeah, they're not going to give Holby back until Grubauer
no,
loses it, but he'll
but
just be on a short leash.
exactly. I think it'll be a similar situation to when the Pens had Fleury and Murray. It's like um, one guy will be in, but he'll have a short leash because the guy waiting behind him is extremely good. So,
Yeah, exactly.
um,
Exactly. All right, and let's get to the one that you and I are most excited to watch, I'm sure. Pittsburgh versus Philly. No battle PA.
so here's the thing about this, man. At first glance, and all the talk around town, radio talk and fan talk and all that stuff. I mean, at first glance, this all seems like it's the perfect situation for the Penguins. Like, we don't have to deal, we don't have to deal with Jersey because they were a pest in their regular season. We don't have to deal with the Jackets because I mean, I was the one who was saying that I really thought the Jackets might be able to beat the Penguins in the series this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, everybody was saying if they had their pick at a first round opponent, it would be Philly because I mean they probably are the weakest team in the Metro. Uh, Probably the weakest team in the East, really. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that are in the playoffs. Um,
Yeah.
and so now it's like, well, okay, we got what we wished for. Washington and the Jackets get to beat the hell out of each other, hopefully for 7 games. Everything just seems to be setting up perfectly for the Penguins. But I've been telling people to be careful what they wish for. I don't think the Penguins are going to lose this series. I think
Mm-hmm.
that would be almost impossible. But I don't think it's going to be a quick one. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I don't think it's even going to be 5. I think it's going to be a little tougher than people realize. Um, I think it's going to probably be pretty high scoring. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's I think uh, special teams is going to be a huge factor. Um, because each team has really good power plays and not particularly good penalty kills. Um,
Yep.
but that being said, uh, you know, Pittsburgh's just so much deeper. They're so much deeper. They have the better goaltending. They have the better defense, although they don't have. I mean, compared to 2016 and last year, they don't have a great defense. But when you look at Philly, I mean, their first pairing is good with what is it?
Ghost and Prof.
Yeah, but then after that, there's a significant drop off. And same thing with their offense. I mean, they have two good lines and then nothing. Um,
Hmm.
so I think unless they get every single bounce and are just playing it, you know, peak performance the entire time, I just don't see the Flyers pulling it off. I say Pens in six.
Uh, man, this is crazy. Yeah, I've got Pittsburgh at 6-2. I see a lot of people thinking this is going to be a quick one, a 4 or 5 game. It's not. It's the Flyers. We're not going to beat the Flyers that handily. First off, we've already swept them in the season, and there's no way we're going to beat them 4 games in a row again after that. You just can't
No.
beat the same team too many times like that. It's not going to happen. Um, I think Pittsburgh ends up winning both games at home. Yeah, maybe. Actually, I think they'll split. I think they'll split 1-1 in the first four, and they'll Pittsburgh will win one of the home games, lose one, and then they'll win one in Flyers, lose one, so it'll be 2-2, and then Pittsburgh will win at Pittsburgh again in Game 5, and I think they'll put it away in Philly in Game 6. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be a tougher series than a lot of people are thinking. Um, like you said, the Flyers on paper are the weakest team in the East. I think. You could make an argument for Jersey too, um, but Jersey really isn't that deep as well in terms of their offense. Jersey's blue line isn't great either, and then the same thing in terms of goaltending. They've got Schneider playing backup to Kincaid right now, so you can make the argument for the Jersey, but I would give the edge to Jersey just a little bit over Philly. Philly's got more star power with Giroux and Voracek there, but I also think their bottom two lines on offense are worse than Jersey's are. So, um, but yeah, they're gonna play Pitt hard. They're gonna play them with a lot of energy, a lot of passion. Um, Pittsburgh better take this series seriously because the Flyers are. There's no way they're not. So, but at the end of the day, I do think Pittsburgh has the deeper talent pool. Um, I think they'll end up taking it in 6 games.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of fans kind of afraid that it could devolve into what we saw back in 2012, and I'm not worried
I don't
about
think it
that.
will.
I, I,
The Flyers are a
um,
different team than they were back then. They
well,
really are.
I think even if they still were the Broad Street Bullies, with Mike Sullivan at the helm of the Penguins, I'm not worried about that.
No.
That wouldn't happen with him in control anyway. But that's why I have felt more of a rivalry with Washington and Columbus of late than the Flyers. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
some of that is because we haven't played the Flyers since
Outside the
2012.
regular season. Yeah.
Um, but Philadelphia, they actually kind of play hockey now. They actually play a speed and skill game,
Yeah.
So,
Like, don't get me
um,
wrong. I still hate the Flyers.
well,
I'm never gonna be a
sure,
Flyers fan.
yeah,
But I respect what they've done with the team. I respect what Hextall has done in terms of getting them away from the Broad Street Bully mantra, getting rid of guys like Ronaldo, you know those kind of players. There, what was his name? Ryan White, I think is his name. Getting rid of those kind of goon enforcer style players. I mean, they've still got Gudis, but even Gudis has kind of cleaned up his game in the last couple of years a little bit.
yeah.
Um, Gudis is really the only guy I'm worried about going out there and throwing stupid hits from the Flyers. Um, but no, they're trying to build a hockey team. They're building, a good skilled speed hockey team. It tells you a lot that Gossesbear is on their first pairing because Gossesbear is pretty much the atypical defenseman that the Broad Street Boys would have ran. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's
for sure.
tiny. He doesn't check. He doesn't play the body. He's an offensive first defenseman. And if they were still in that mindset, he would never touch first line minutes for them. First pairing minutes, I mean. So
Yeah. Now, I will say, while I don't really think that, quote unquote, flipping the switch is a thing, I do think the Pens have uh, somewhat of a playoff gear. I think we
yeah,
saw, I think we saw a little bit of that the other night when they were, when they were at the Blue Jackets, where,
mm-hmm.
like in that third period, where when the game was tied and it was just an onslaught, and like they held the Jackets without a shot for like 12 minutes. Um,
yeah.
I think,
I'm thinking. I've talked about this with you as well. I think there was a misnomer that the Pens were playing worse than they were at the end of the season because they finished 11-4-2 in their last 17. I mean,
yeah,
that's a good record for anybody.
yeah,
I think they lost a couple games that they shouldn't have that made them look worse than they did.
yeah,
I mean, they
absolutely.
really shouldn't have lost to the Islanders. They shouldn't have lost to Detroit. But they also
Rangers.
beat a team that gave them a ton of problems in Jersey. Um, they gave Washington a good run. I mean, they ended up losing that one, but they gave them a good run. They beat Columbus. I mean,
Hmm.
in terms of what they did, I think just who they lost to kind of made them look worse than they really did in terms of their overall record.
Yeah, I agree. But I think if they come out like at the very top of their game and are operating on all cylinders, I do think they might be able to wrap it up in like five. But but realistically, I think we're looking at about a 6 game series, like you said. So
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump over to the West, my friend. Let's start in the Central. Nashville is the President's Cup winners for the best team in hockey this year. And they get the pleasure of taking on a really hot team in Colorado as the first round matchup. If I'm Nashville, I'm probably kind of pissed about that. I would much rather play LA or Winnipeg, or not Winnipeg, LA or Minnesota than Colorado right now.
yeah, well, I mean, I've been saying on these episodes for the past few weeks now, I don't think anyone's beaten Nashville. In fact, I very well think they're probably going to win the cup. So I'm not going to bet against them here. I think the Avs might make it a little bit interesting, but I don't know. I would say Nashville probably in 5 or 6. I guess I'll be a little generous to the Avs and say 6.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, I'm giving the Avs a little bit more credit here. I've got them taking Nashville to 7, to be honest with you.
Oh
And
wow.
here's why. Colorado just won a game yesterday that was win and grin. I mean, it was straight up, it was against St. Louis, the team they were trying to pass. Whoever won that game, they were in no matter what. So, um, I think that momentum and the fact that they won that game 4-1, man. I mean, they were pretty steadily in control that entire game. On top of that, Nathan McKinnon is having a absolute fantastic year. In my opinion, if it weren't for Taylor Hall leading the Devils to the playoffs pretty much by himself, McKinnon would be the absolute runaway for the MVP this year to me. He still might end up winning it. I think Hall's going to take it just because McKinnon does at least have Rantanen, and he does have Landeskog and Barry and a couple other decent pieces. Hall has really nothing on Jersey outside of himself. Um, so I think Hall's going to end up taking that. But I think Colorado is going to come out, and I think they're going to surprise them. I honestly think they'll probably win the first game against Nashville. I don't think Nashville's really going to be prepared for it. I think Nashville's going to take it. I don't see Colorado winning this series in any way. Um, Even with media having them go to 7, I don't think it's going to be at any point really that much of a threat. But and realistically, Nashville probably could put it away in 6 too. I'm just more doing this so we don't have the same picks all the way through as well. but I definitely could see Colorado taking them up to 7 games.
Well, the thing about the particularly, it seems like when there is a first round upset, it's usually in the
Usually
West.
the West. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Like obviously last year with the Preds sweeping the Hawks, not just sweeping them, but they only allowed 2 goals the whole series, right? Or something ridiculous like that. So, I mean, it's possible.
Here's why
I
I think that happens. Um, I think despite there's always the conversation of who's the better conference, the East or the West. I think the East probably has better teams in Boston, Tampa, maybe make the case for Washington and Toronto and Pittsburgh. But I think the West is deeper. You know what I mean? In terms of there's a lot of good lower seeded teams in the West every year. Um, like last year, you had, I mean, the Islanders were in the first round, right? In the playoffs last year.
yeah, they got beat by Tampa, right?
Yeah, pretty sure. So, and the year before that, you've had Detroit, you've had teams like that. I think there's been a lot of teams in the
Or
East
no, no,
that were
no, no.
playoff teams.
Sorry, I'm thinking of 2016 because
Yeah, Tampa wasn't in the playoffs last year. I'm
yes,
thinking 2016 as well. And then it ended up being, yeah. I think no, I think the Islanders beat Detroit in the first round in 2016.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
you're.
and then got beat by Tampa after that.
Well, no, because I thought this was the second straight year the Wings were out of it, right?
Could be. I might be getting confused. But I mean, I'm just saying, there's generally one or two teams in the East that get in that probably would have never sniffed the playoffs in the West. Um, you know, I think the top level talent in the East is probably better, like the top 3, 4 teams. I just think the West is a deeper conference generally. At least the last couple years it has been.
Yeah, well, it's weird. Yeah, I mean, I think the West is more even overall, whereas the East, it's like you have the Metro, which like probably like out of all the divisions has the most parity, but then the Atlantic, it's basically just like three really really good teams, and then everyone else is like pretty bad.
Yeah, Florida made
Yeah.
a push, but there's a big drop off even between Toronto and Florida, and then from Florida to fifth place, the Atlantic is a giant drop off. But um, yeah, I'm just trying to make the point that generally the third seeds and the wild cards in the West, if you put them in a straight matchup against the Eastern Conference third seed and wild cards, for the most part in the last couple of years, the team in the West is probably the better team. Now this year I think it changes. This year I think there's two really good wild card teams in the East, in Columbus and Jersey. Um, I
Yeah, for
really
sure.
don't think there's any team. Maybe Philly wouldn't hold up in the Western bracket. That's pretty much about it. Um, but I mean, like last year you had the Bruins and the Sens. Obviously, the Sens ended up making a run, but I don't think anyone predicted them to be really that good of a team. Um, you had the Rangers, the Canadians. The Rangers really weren't that great of a team last year. Uh, Maple Leafs and Capitals. Yeah, I'm just trying. You get where I'm coming from with it. It's kind of a thing that I've seen happen, and it's starting to even out with the parity. I think you'll see more upsets in the East coming out the next couple years.
Yeah.
So, but let's move on to the second round matchup. There we got Winnipeg playing Minnesota in the Central.
Uh, I would. I find it hard to bet against Winnipeg. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the Wild have had a pretty good year. Particularly Eric Stahl. He scored like 40 goals, didn't
42
he?
goals.
That
42
yeah,
goals.
I never would have guessed that. That's crazy.
Nope,
But
me either.
Winnipeg, talk about going from rags to riches. Uh,
Yeah.
they completely 180'd this season. But I don't think it'll be easy by any means. I I'll say Winnipeg in six.
Winnipeg in 6. Gotcha. I've got Winnipeg taking this one in 5. Um, and here's my reasoning. I don't think Minnesota is that bad of a team, um, but I think Winnipeg is a better team than a lot of people are giving them credit for. Winnipeg's offense can hold up with the best offense in any teams. I mean, I'm talking they might have an offense that's just up there with Tampa's and just up there with Pittsburgh's in terms of its depth and how good of an offense it is. Um, Line is a 40 goal scorer this year. Wheeler got close. Or not Perot. What am I thinking of?
Shipley?
Shifley got close.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of talent stacked up there in the front, and also Hellebuck led the league in wins, I believe, this year. 44 wins total for a
Damn.
goalie. He's played awesome this year.
Well, yeah,
With the goaltending that they missed last year.
that's really the main thing they were always missing. So they have that now. We see what happens, So
Yeah. Yeah. Now he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, so I think that's going to be the wild card: is how well does Hellebuck play compared to how he's played this year. But
right.
I think this series is only going to go five. I don't see Minnesota being a better team than Winnipeg at all. I think Winnipeg is heads and tails above them. I mean, if you look at the point standings, Winnipeg has 114, Minnesota has 101. Out of any of the matchups between 2 and 3, that's the biggest point differential there. So.
Yeah.
But let's hop down into the Pacific bracket. Vegas gets the joy of taking on the Los Angeles Kings in the first round. Who do you have there, Sean?
Man, I'm really torn on this one. I honestly think the Kings might be able to win this one, man.
Yeah, I mean it's possible.
Yeah, I mean the Kings have been a more solid team than I thought this year. I thought they were kind of just there, but they've
Kopitar had a
actually
big bounce back here. He dropped 19
yeah
points this
they've
year. A real big bounce back here.
yeah they've been pretty good. Let me ask you this: who has home ice in that one? Because that's actually a big one.
Vegas. Vegas is first place. So.
That that honestly could be the determining factor, man. I don't know. My head tells me the Kings, but I'm gonna go with my heart and with Flower just because he's a former Penguin,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'll go Vegas in 7.
All right. I have Vegas taking this one in 6. Vegas has fallen off a little bit. They were one of the hottest teams in the league for a while, but they have really dropped off at the end of the season here. They just lost 7-1 the Flames
Now,
in their last game.
but did they rest guys for that game or no?
I'm not sure. I didn't watch it at all, to be honest with you.
I mean, I just assumed that they rested players if they lost that, I mean,
I know
but
that
I
they started
really,
Flower at the very least. So.
yeah, I mean, I didn't figure, but yeah.
But But I do think they're going to end up at least winning one playoff series this year. I think they're going to be really motivated as a team
Yeah, well,
because they made the
absolutely.
playoffs as an expansion team. I think they're going to try to make a push to be one of the best expansion teams in the playoffs to ever, do it. So, um, I think they'll take this one in 6. Could go to 7. LA's a dangerous team for them to play. They're not getting an easy task at all here, but I think they'll take it in 6 games.
Yeah.
And then the other Pacific matchup, we have Anaheim versus San Jose, with Anaheim having the home ice advantage.
Man, I think this one's a lot like Washington and Columbus. Flip a coin, man, because I have no idea. Um, I I think I would go with the Ducks. I think I'd go with the Ducks in 7.
Going with the Ducks at 7. All right, interesting enough. We finally have our first pick where we disagree with the team that's going to win. I'm going to take San Jose at 7 in this one. Um, no real reason, to be honest with you. The Ducks could end up winning this series just as easily. They both have a ton of star power. They both have, guys that have been there before. I mean, Anaheim has Getzlaff, they have Perry. They have guys like that know what they're doing in the playoffs. San Jose has Couture. They've got Pavelski. They've got Thornton. They've got Burns. Um, I just look at their rosters and I think that San Jose is just a little bit deeper with what they have in terms of especially the blue line. They've got a pretty good blue line there in San Jose. I like Jones a little bit better than I like Gibson. Um, and then I also see here that Anaheim had 13 overtime points to get where they are. So they really didn't have overall that amazing of a record. Now I know they struggled with injuries a lot this year. They had a lot of guys out, up and down the roster, but um, San Jose ended up with a little bit better of a win-loss record. I think San Jose probably ends up taking this one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said,
It's a
that's
coin
a
flip,
yeah,
right there.
that's
Yeah,
really a coin flip.
that's
And
probably the hardest matchup in for everyone to pick.
yeah, and again, not that last year or the year before matter at all because they don't, but this is just the reasoning I'm going to use. Um, the Sharks obviously went to the Cup final in 2016 after years and years of choking. Um, so I just think because of the fact that they did finally manage to get as far as they did in 2016, they're just like doomed to like like keep choking for like 10 more years. Uh,
Right.
and then like Anaheim, I am pretty sure last year in like when the Preds when the Preds won against them, I believe it was in what the sixth game um, of that series.
Yeah.
Anaheim outshot them like 41-18. I mean, like it was something absurd like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think the Ducks probably deserved a bit of a better fate. You know, probably at least earned, probably at least, probably at least earned a game 7. So I don't know. I just think the Ducks will go a little bit farther this year.
I hear
Um,
you. Yep, I
so
can see it. I
I
can
don't
see
know,
it.
but
All right. Well, that's the first round out. Do you want to keep going here? Predict all the way through, or what?
um, no,
Sure. Okay.
no. I was gonna say we'll just we'll go round by round, um,
Okay.
and
I've
we'll
got it
just
written down.
adjust as
We'll get everyone's. I've got both their picks written down, so we'll uh, we'll pick it up next week's episode and maybe do round two. I know round one probably won't be over by then, but we can at least do round two of the playoffs and with our picks in terms of who we think's gonna win. Now, quick question for you: are you sticking with Nashville as your Cup winner this year?
um. I would say for right now, yeah. Like I said, you know, they're the best team in the regular season. I think they're extremely hungry from being, 1 win, well, I guess 2 wins shy of last year. They went out and they needed centers. They got centers. Um, I think they're gonna be able to do it, but we'll see.
I hear you. I've got Boston as my team this year, and I hate to say it because you know I'm not a Boston fan in any way, shape, or form, but I see them play the regular season, and I know the regular season doesn't always carry over in the playoffs, but I think they got a hell of a team this year, and I think they could end up making a deep run, if not all the way to the cup. So
Well, yeah, I mean, right now if I had to pick, that would be my cup final. You know,
Boston, Nashville, yeah.
probably, yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's how it's shaping up. That's the NHL playoffs. That's what we've got. It's gonna be exciting to watch. I really think this is a good year, man. I don't see any of these first round matchups that are look like it's a boring matchup on paper. Um, there definitely is at least one. Like last year, I mean, Anaheim, Calgary, you kind of knew Anaheim was going to take that one.
Yeah.
They're not even be close. So generally there is at least one or two matchups that look like on paper they're going to be pretty boring, but I think this is like it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, I think the Penguins and Flyers would be the closest to that matchup if they weren't such
Mm-hmm.
rivals.
Yeah,
But obviously,
that one
that's going
or
to be
maybe
very amped.
Winnipeg and Minnesota could end up being kind of a boring series. Winnipeg could end up taking that one over pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But overall, I mean, I could really see. Last year if someone told me the Flames were beating the Ducks, I would say they're crazy. I don't think there's a single matchup this year where I could be like, you know, there's no way the team doesn't win. You know what I mean? Um, maybe Jersey and Tampa, but even that one, I mean, I wouldn't really be all that shocked if Jersey somehow ended up taking that series. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be like, oh my god, this is one of the craziest things ever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's the NHL wants parity, and there's a lot of
It's high,
parity.
for
I mean,
sure.
yeah. So,
For sure.
but yeah. Next episode will probably be mostly about the NBA playoffs because that will be shaped up, and we'll be able to talk about that. By that point, we'll be probably a little ways into the first round of the NHL playoffs, so we might have an idea of who it looks like is going to win their series, but we'll see. Um,
Gotcha.
but yeah, we'll figure it out, and we'll definitely have something to talk about, no doubt about it.
Alright. Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but yeah, man, thanks as always.
Definitely.
As usual, make sure you like and share and subscribe and comment and thumbs up and thumbs down and all that fun stuff. Also, keep an eye out for our sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, sometimes monthly, whatever podcast about video games called the Console Space Podcast. We're actually we're only about 2 months out from E3, one of my favorite times of the year. So we're gonna start making episodes about our E3 predictions and all that fun stuff. So yeah, no, but yeah, just check out the channel, all the content, all the videos. There's plenty of it out there. And Todd, we'll do it again next week, man.
Sounds good, friend. See you then.
See you, man.